Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie. I am Charlie, and in this video, I'm going to be inviting you to consider whether or not you think that the press releases being put out by Halifax and Nationwide are misleading or not. I'm going to explain why I think they are, and if you've had enough of it, like I have, what you can do about it using a complaint to the Advertising Standards Authority, which is surprisingly easy to do. I've done two of them in the past, one against McDonald's, one against Purple Bricks. Both of them got upheld. So it is worth doing if you genuinely believe something's being misleading. Now, this is quite a bold statement I'm making, all right? I am calling it out. I am not questioning the number that is their average number. I'm questioning the fact that that is not the same as house prices. And in this video, I'm going to explain that. And this is especially, I'm going to be explaining this as if you are a first-time viewer of the channel. You've never seen it before. You're a bit bewildered by all of the conflicting house price news that you're getting, and you just want to know what's happening. So first of all, let's just see what was actually said this week. So at the beginning of this week, or was it last week actually? Sorry, it was last week. Nationwide put out the following press release. UK house prices rose 2.2% month on month in November, right? That statement right there can be picked apart in two different ways. First of all, they didn't say that that was seasonally adjusted. Secondly, they didn't point out that actually without the seasonal adjustment, the prices fell, as you can see here. November's is £1,000 lower than October's was. So that's an actual drop in their average price before seasonal adjustment. But to make a sweeping statement that house price recovery continued in November, when in their own statement right below it says average price is lower, I'm calling that misleading. That's one way in which it's misleading. Now, before I get too deep into Nationwide, let's just move on to Halifax's that came out today. So Halifax today have said the average house price is 283,615. I do not dispute that as a statement and as a fact. I am completely happy to accept the fact that Halifax's overall average transaction price is 283,615. It's not an average because it's hedonically regressed and it's got weighting and seasonal adjustment. But I'm I'm not challenging that figure. Okay. I'm not challenging that figure is 0.5% higher than the previous month, their average transaction price. I'm not challenging that, the quarterly figure or the annual figure, both of which are down, okay? But what I am challenging is their first line in their commentary. UK house prices rose for a second month in a row. That is not true, because UK house prices are not the same as the Halifax average house price, which is one number. It's really important to understand this. And if you haven't already watched it, I did a video which I've linked to below, and it's this video here, where with a spreadsheet, which I've also linked to, I explain exactly how an average figure can go up when the individual prices are more than not going down. So watch that video if you haven't seen it. That's just right here. Average house price, as the ONS and Halifax call it, can go up even when the majority of houses in that data set actually saw their values go down. Okay, that was a very lucky piece of timing. And here is the spreadsheet, which I've linked to below, where you can go and check the numbers for yourself to see what I mean, where 7 out of 8 of those prices have gone down and only 1 has gone up. And the average says it's gone up, but the actual median reduction has gone down. So that is the first thing I need you to understand. And then, of course, on the back of this, we get mathematical numpties like my friend Russell Quirk coming out on Twitter with utter guff like this. Breaking! Halifax house price index shows a healthy 0.5% rise in November. This latest boost to sentiment in the housing market sets the scene for a much more buoyant 2024 for sellers, agents, mortgage brokers, and conveyancers. Everything's fine. I mean, at least by saying much more buoyant 24, he's acknowledging 2023 wasn't buoyant. And later this month, when the ONS actually releases its October house price index, we'll be able to see whether or not Russell was right when he said a year ago, I bet that house prices will be higher in October 23 than they were in 2022. Now, I'm going to give it. If you only take one thing away from this video, it's this. Average house price indices have absolutely no correlation to the prices of the properties that you are looking at buying and or selling. Okay, because it suggests that there's one market, and there isn't. There's a market of a million different anecdotes. There's a market with tens of thousands of micro markets within it, and they are all doing different things depending on whether it's a flat or a house, depending on whether it's bottom of the range or high end. They're doing different things, whether it's north or south, country or rural. They're all doing different things. Now, why do they always like to put out positive messages whenever possible? Because if house prices are rising, as they usually do, actually, and as they not always don't, anyone who says house prices always go up, that's not true. They usually go up about 85 to 90% of the time on the long term, they are going up, right? Nominally, not real. In real terms, it's less than that. But nominally, 85 to 90% of the time, house prices go up. And when house prices are actually rising, as a buyer, it makes you motivated to hurry up and buy because you want to buy before the price gets out of reach. And also, it makes you more happy to buy because you think, I'm going to invest in the property and the price is going to go up. And so when prices are actually rising, which they are not now, but when they're actually rising, then yeah, it gives you confidence to go ahead and make this massive, daunting transaction. But for these lenders to pretend and to make out and to state that the house prices are recovering and that the average house prices are going up is a downright lie. And I'm happy to let the Advertising Standards Authority decide for themselves whether they think this is misleading or not. The key point here is the difference between their average house price, which is a number calculated from all of their transactions, which I don't dispute, and house prices, which is not the same thing. Their average transaction value for the month of November is not house prices. So when they say house prices are rising, as my spreadsheet proves, you can have 7 out of 8 properties having the actual prices falling and only one property going up, and the average transaction price is higher. Now, I'm going to give you just 3 hypothetical scenarios or phenomena that could be happening that I think are happening in the market that would lead to this situation happening, would lead to the situation of the average price going up when actual prices are going down. Number 1, when more people than typically do decide to downsize, that creates more transactions than normal at a higher value. That has the effect of pulling up the average transaction value, even if the transaction prices of houses in the mid-range are going down. So it is possible for the average to go up while the majority of house prices are actually going down. Okay, so downsizing would be one thing that would lead to that. Number 2, people selling up and moving into rented because they expected the housing market to fall, of which I know many people personally have done that. And hundreds of you who follow me have said that you did that a year ago. You moved out and you moved into rented. And if you have moved out of a higher than average value property and moved into rented, then you've created a unusually a transaction at a high price without someone at a lower price also happening, because you're not moving, you're not buying a lower price and downsizing. So people moving out of higher value properties and into rented would also cause the average transaction value to rise whilst house prices are still falling. But even if neither of those two things are happening, we've got evidence of another thing that is definitely happening that also has the effect of making the average transaction price rise, even though house prices are falling. And it is this: if there are fewer first-time buyers borrowing money to buy their first home, if mortgage approvals are down, and they are something like 30 to 40% down on the 5-year average, if less people are buying at the lower end of the market because they can't afford it because of interest rates, then there are fewer transactions happening at the lowest prices. And when you have fewer transactions than normal happening at lower prices, when you see a drop off in transaction volumes at lower prices, which we have seen and which we know has happened, that would cause the average transaction value to get higher. You only need GCSE maths to be able to get your head around this. So I don't know why Russell, because I'm pretty sure Russell does have GCSE maths or O-level maths, because I think he's old enough for that. But we are not talking complicated maths here. So I urge you all, I've put a link below to the ASA, the Advertising Standards Authority's website, in the description below this video. And anyone who agrees with me, anyone who understands the maths, anyone who understands the difference between the single average transaction value, which is just it's an arbitrary calculation from a large data set. If you understand the difference between that and house prices, you will be able to make your ASA complaint stating why you believe they are making a misleading statement, because this is causing harm. Thankfully, most people in a position to buy a house are seeing through this and are not overpaying and are not buying, which is why transaction volumes are falling and why sellers are complaining and why Phil fucking Spencer is writing after the Telegraph going, it's the height of rudeness to Gazunder. Now, whilst I agree that deliberately leaving it to the very last minute to hold a gun to the seller's head to get the price drop, that's not okay. That's not cool. That's a shitty thing to do to anyone. What is completely okay is if your transaction is taking a very long time and the market's gone down in your area and you're no longer comfortable paying the price you first agreed and you want to renegotiate, that is totally okay. Rude. Oh my God, just be polite and overpay. So why is Phil making articles like that if people aren't struggling to sell? Why is Zoopla saying that the average discount of asking price is now £18,000 or 5.5% if average prices are going up? Like if house prices were rising, these things wouldn't be happening. There will be pockets of places. There will be some exceptions to this. There'll be places where there are actually properties with prices going up because of local phenomena happening. But on the whole, across the country, it is a fucking joke to say house prices are rising and they need to be stopped. Just looking at the comments. Thanks, guys. Hi there. Hi, everybody. What? Richard Crystal says from the ASA press release, they're excluded from the scope of the code. Who are? Who are excluded from the scope of the code? Richard Crystal, could you elaborate on that, please? I'd like to know that. Sorry, a press release may not come under the ASA code, but a publication on your website does come under the ASA code. I'm afraid. So if it's published on your website, it's under the ASA code. I mean, as you can tell, I'm genuinely frustrated, cross, angry, pissed off at the relentless bullshit that they knowingly spew. Why can't they just be honest about the numbers and go, yeah, that's the average transaction value. Because I'm not saying that their stated average transaction value is wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the commentary they put with it is misleading, and that needs to be fucking stopped once and for all. I'm sorry to those of you who are watching with children in the background. I should have said at the beginning that I was likely to swear in this video. Right, I'd like to finish this with one, with a happy point here. And by the way, I wore this t-shirt especially for today. It is December. It is the month of the year when sellers are most likely to accept an offer to just get their property sold lower than they otherwise would than at any other time of the year. Now is the time, if you have your ducks in a row, to go out and, I mean, if you ring up an agent to book a viewing in December, they'll fall off their stool with astonishment. But go and view the properties that have been on the market the longest, the ones that have been sitting there for ages. View them. And if you make sure that you demonstrate your offer is instantly proceedable, you've got your decision in principle, you've got your proof of deposit funds, you've got your conveyancer ready and appointed, ready to go, and you will buy the search pack the day they accept the offer, then the sellers, with that presented to them, when the agent says, look, the offer's way below what you wanted, but there are no other offers happening, the market is not coming up anytime soon next year, this offer gets you sold very, very quickly. It's from an unencumbered, proceedable buyer. And look, they really are saying they're going to get this done fast. Maybe you can even say, look, we're happy to exchange within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as fast as it can be possibly done. And we are as contract ready as it's possible to be, especially if you're a cash buyer. Now is the time. Not all sellers are going to accept it. And what I'm saying doesn't mean that all sellers are going to accept low offers, but there will be some. Look for the ones that have been around the longest. Talk to the agents and say to them, which of your sellers are the most motivated? I'm ready to proceed and get exchanged ASAP. And you may well just get lucky. You're risking a bit of time going and viewing their property and making an offer, but I cannot recommend strongly enough that December is it's the worst time to be a seller. If you've been on the market for a while and you just want to sell, it is the worst time to be a seller. And I think 2024, the market is going to feel even more negative. I hope transaction values pick up. I don't think they're going to very much. Yes, Lee Pop's transaction volumes were a bit higher than this time last year, and that's good news. That's good news. But it doesn't make a difference to what's happening now, which is that there's more property on the market than at any time in the last 6 years, and sellers are having to lower their prices. Yeah, Robert Jones says, the guff, it works. I assume you mean the bullshit they put out. Most people think prices are going up. Yep, and if you go out and overpay because you believe that prices are going up, well, honestly, if you're someone that just believes headlines and trusts into institutions because it's what you want to hear, I'm sorry, you're setting yourself up for whatever happens. You can't, if you're watching this video or any others like it, you can't say that you weren't warned. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap that up. Call it a day. Wish you a good one. I wasn't planning to do any videos this week, but I couldn't not do it after Halifax put out their utter bollocks. Not the numbers. I'm not disputing their average number, but this. UK house prices rose for a second month in a row. UK house prices did not rise. They did not rise. It is an absolute falsehood to make that statement, and that's what I want everybody to go and challenge. All the links you need below to do this, I'll do this. I implore you all, I ask you all to go to the ASA website and make a complaint. It costs nothing. Just make sure you're really, really clear. Oh, Vince, just for you. Here you go, mate. Just for you. Have a good one, guys. I'm going to, yeah. I'm just going to call it. Have a good one. Thanks, guys. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.